Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? Or misplaced your glasses only to find them sitting in the refrigerator? Sure, we laugh these moments off. It's just aging, we tell ourselves. But what if it's not? What if these small lapses aren't innocent signs of growing older, but early warnings that something more serious is happening? What if the real culprit isn't age at all, but something hiding in plain sight inside your medicine cabinet? Right now, millions of Americans over 60 are unknowingly putting their brain at risk. And the most alarming part? They're doing it by following doctors' orders. These medications are legal, they're common, some are even sold over the counter. But recent science shows that many of them, taken long enough, can shrink parts of the brain responsible for memory, learning, and focus. Instead of aging naturally and maintaining clarity well into your golden years, your brain could be silently deteriorating, day after day, pill after pill. And here's the kicker. Nearly every senior I've spoken with had no idea, no warning from their pharmacist, no conversation with their doctor, just trust and time. But you're here now, and that changes everything. Because today, we're going to pull back the curtain. You'll discover which medications pose the greatest threat to your memory, and what you can do right now to protect yourself or someone you love. This may be one of the most important health conversations you've ever had. Let's talk about something that rarely gets said out loud. The pharmaceutical industry isn't just in the business of healing, it's in the business of billions. For decades, drug companies have quietly known about the cognitive risk linked to certain medications, especially for older adults. And yet they continue to market these drugs aggressively, often without proper warnings about long-term effects on the brain. Why? Because these drugs sell. And because memory loss doesn't scream for attention the way a heart attack does. It creeps in, subtle, silent, denied. Now, I'm not saying every medication is bad, but I am saying this. When a drug is known to interfere with memory, shrink parts of the brain, or double the risk of dementia, and seniors are still being prescribed that drug without full transparency, something's wrong. We've trusted too much for too long. We've assumed that if a drug is approved, it must be safe. But approval doesn't always mean harmless, especially for aging brains. Instead of empowering seniors to ask questions, the system has encouraged silent compliance. That stops today. This isn't about fear. It's about clarity and choice. Let's move into the science and why your brain is more vulnerable than you think. To understand how these medications affect your memory, we need to start with your brain's natural chemistry. One key player is a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Think of it as the messenger your brain uses to create new memories, focus your attention, and stay mentally sharp. It's especially important in the hippocampus, the region of your brain responsible for learning and short-term memory. Now here's the catch. As we age, our levels of acetylcholine naturally decline. That's normal. But when certain medications block or reduce this chemical even further, they push the aging brain over the edge. Instead of just slowing down a little, the brain begins to struggle, misfiring, forgetting, disconnecting. This isn't just theory. Imaging studies show that seniors on long-term use of certain drugs can experience actual shrinkage in memory-critical areas of the brain. Not metaphorical shrinking, real measurable loss. And it doesn't always take years. In some cases, the damage can begin in a matter of months. Worse still, many seniors are prescribed multiple medications that each chip away at acetylcholine in different ways. Alone, the effects might be small, but together they can snowball into serious cognitive decline. So it's not just about which drugs, but how many, how often, and for how long. The brain isn't just aging, it's being chemically suppressed. And if you don't know what to look for, you might assume it's just normal forgetfulness. Now that you understand how the damage happens, let's get into the list. Let's start with one of the most innocent-looking pills in your cabinet, Benadryl. It's the pink tablet many of us reach for when we're dealing with allergies, a cold, or a restless night. It's cheap, it's over the counter, and it's everywhere. But here's what you may not know. Benadryl contains diphenhydramine, a powerful anticholinergic drug. That means it blocks acetylcholine, the brain chemical we just talked about that keeps memory sharp. For older adults, this is especially dangerous. Your brain is already producing less acetylcholine naturally. Taking a drug that lowers it further is like shutting off the lights in a room that's already dim. Let me tell you about Mary, a 72-year-old woman who took Benadryl every night to help her sleep. After several years, she began misplacing things, forgetting conversations and losing focus. Her family thought it was just age, until they learned about the drug's effects. Once she stopped, some of her clarity returned. Science backs this up. A major 7-year study by the University of Washington found that seniors who use strong anticholinergic drugs, like diphenhydramine for more than 3 years, had a 54% higher risk of developing dementia. So the next time you see PM or nighttime on the label, pause. It might be more than just a sleep aid. It could be chipping away at your memory. Coming in at number 8 are the drugs many people trust to soothe heartburn. Proton pump inhibitors, better known as PPIs. Medications like Nexium, Prilosec, and Prevacid are commonly prescribed for acid reflux, GERD, and ulcers. They're marketed as gentle, long-term solutions, but they may come at a hidden cost. PPIs work by dramatically reducing stomach acid. While that might ease the burn, it also interferes with your body's ability to absorb key nutrients, especially vitamin B12. And without B12, your brain starts to suffer. Vitamin B12 is crucial for memory, focus, and mood regulation. Low levels can lead to brain fog, disorientation, and symptoms that mimic early Alzheimer's. And it doesn't stop there. A 2024 study published in Neurology found that people over 60 who used PPIs for more than 4 years had a 33% higher risk of developing dementia. What's more, PPIs can also reduce the absorption of calcium and magnesium, both essential for healthy nerve signaling. And some studies suggest they may increase harmful amyloid plaques in the brain, a key marker of Alzheimer's disease. Now, this doesn't mean you should stop cold turkey, but it does mean you should ask your doctor if a lower dose, shorter course, or an H2 blocker like Pepcid might be a better fit. Sometimes the drug marketed as gentle on the stomach is anything but gentle on the mind. At number 7, we have a class of drugs designed to help with something many seniors struggle with, bladder control. If you've ever been prescribed oxybutynin, ditropan, or other medications for an overactive bladder, you're not alone. These drugs can feel like a lifesaver, saving you from constant bathroom trips and the embarrassment that sometimes comes with aging. But there's a hidden price. These medications are anticholinergics. Like Benadryl, they block acetylcholine in the brain, but with even more intensity. And because they cross the blood-brain barrier easily, they can have a direct impact on memory, focus, and emotional balance. Let me introduce you to John, 70 years old. He'd been using oxybutynin for a couple of years. His bladder was under control, but his mind wasn't. He began forgetting names, misplacing keys, and struggling to keep up with conversations. His family thought it was normal aging, until his doctor connected the dots. A 2024 study in BMJ Medicine confirmed this risk. Older adults who took bladder anticholinergics like oxybutynin were 31% more likely to develop dementia, especially when used long-term. The solution? Ask your doctor about newer bladder medications like mirabegron. They work differently and don't interfere with brain chemistry the same way. Because controlling your bladder shouldn't mean losing control of your mind. Number 6 might surprise you. Statins, cholesterol-lowering drugs like Lipitor and Zocor, are among the most prescribed medications in the world, especially for people over 60. They're praised for protecting the heart, reducing the risk of stroke, and extending life. And in many cases, they absolutely do. But there's more to the story when it comes to your brain. Your brain is made up of nearly 60% fat, and cholesterol is a critical part of that structure. It's essential for building the myelin sheath, which helps nerve signals travel smoothly. When cholesterol is reduced too aggressively, especially in older adults, it may interfere with cognitive function. Some seniors on high-dose statins have reported sudden memory lapses, forgetting names, losing their sense of direction, even blanking out during conversations. It can feel like a fog rolling in, slowly muting the mind. A 2023 study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that seniors over 70 who used high-dose statins for more than 3 years were 26% more likely to experience mild cognitive impairment. However, not all statins are equal. Drugs like rosuvastatin and pravastatin are believed to be less likely to penetrate the blood-brain barrier and may pose a lower cognitive risk. So if you're on statins and noticing brain fog or forgetfulness, don't panic, but do talk to your doctor about dosage, alternatives, or switching to a brain-friendlier option. Because protecting your heart shouldn't come at the expense of your mind. At number 5 are drugs many seniors are quietly relying on: benzodiazepines, better known as Xanax, Valium, Ativan, and others. These medications are often prescribed for anxiety, panic, or insomnia, and at first they seem like a godsend. They calm the nerves, relax the body, and help you fall asleep. But over time, they can become a trap. Benzodiazepines work by enhancing GABA, a neurotransmitter that slows brain activity. That's great when you're overwhelmed. But the long-term effect is sedation, not just of anxiety, but of memory and mental clarity. Let me tell you about Louise, age 75. She began taking Ativan nightly to help with sleep. A few months in, her family noticed she was slower in conversation. Then came the forgotten birthdays, misplaced mail, and missed appointments. It wasn't just sleepiness, it was cognitive fog. The Rotterdam study in 2024 tracked over 5,000 older adults. While general benzodiazepine use wasn't linked to huge risks, those on high doses had a 33% greater risk of developing dementia-like symptoms. Imaging showed these drugs may also shrink memory-critical areas like the hippocampus. The worst part? Many seniors experience withdrawal when trying to stop, so they stay on them for years, not realizing the trade-off. If this sounds familiar, don't go cold turkey. Talk to your doctor. Safer strategies like tapering slowly, using cognitive behavioral therapy, or switching to non-sedating alternatives can help. Calm is important, but not if it costs your clarity. Coming in at number 4 is a medication that's been around for decades: amitriptyline. You might know it by its brand name Elavil. It was originally developed as an antidepressant, but these days it's also used for nerve pain, migraines, and sleep. It sounds like a multi-purpose miracle until you realize what it's doing to your brain. Amitriptyline is one of the strongest anticholinergic drugs still prescribed today. It powerfully blocks acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter essential for memory, attention, and learning. Let me share Clara's story. At 68, she began taking amitriptyline for chronic nerve pain in her legs. It helped at first, but after a year, her focus slipped. She had trouble remembering conversations, couldn't recall recent meals, and started losing confidence in everyday tasks. She assumed it was aging, but in reality, it was chemical interference. A landmark 2015 study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that seniors with high cumulative exposure to anticholinergic drugs like amitriptyline had a 54% higher risk of developing dementia over a 10-year period. And here's the hard truth: Most patients are never warned about this risk. The good news: there are alternatives. For nerve pain, drugs like duloxetine or gabapentin may offer relief without the same cognitive impact. For sleep, low-dose doxepin or melatonin can be gentler on the brain. Just because a drug is old doesn't mean it's harmless. And just because a symptom feels familiar doesn't mean it's just your age. Number 3 on our list is a drug that sounds modern and trustworthy: Paxil, also known as paroxetine. It's part of a class called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are commonly used to treat depression and anxiety. Most SSRIs are considered safe for seniors, but Paxil is the exception. Here's why. Paroxetine doesn't just affect serotonin. It also strongly blocks acetylcholine, giving it anticholinergic properties that are especially risky for older brains. Let's talk about George, 71, who was prescribed Paxil for anxiety after retirement. He took it daily and felt calmer. But over time, his short-term memory declined. He began repeating questions, losing focus mid-sentence, and feeling mentally sluggish. When his medication was switched to sertraline, a similar antidepressant without the same anticholinergic effects, George's clarity began to return. A 2021 review in Frontiers in Psychiatry compared SSRIs in older adults and found that paroxetine users had notably greater declines in verbal recall, short-term memory, and attention span, even over just 12 months. That's why the American Geriatric Society includes Paxil on its Beers criteria list of potentially inappropriate medications for seniors. If you're taking Paxil, it's not too late to ask your doctor about safer alternatives like escitalopram or sertraline. The right medication can lift your mood without lowering your memory, because mental health and cognitive health should go hand in hand. At number 2 are medications originally developed for serious mental illnesses: antipsychotics like Risperdal, Seroquel, and Zyprexa. But today they're often prescribed to seniors for entirely different reasons: agitation, sleep problems, or behavioral changes linked to dementia. And that's where the danger begins. These drugs work by blocking dopamine, a neurotransmitter tied to motivation, emotion, and memory. While they may calm difficult behaviors in the short term, their long-term effects can be devastating. Take Clara, 80, who was given Risperdal in her assisted living facility to manage nighttime restlessness. Within months, her family noticed a dramatic shift. She became withdrawn, less verbal, and lost touch with her usual spark. The changes were mistaken for dementia progression, but in truth, the medication was dulling her mind. A massive 2024 study involving nearly 174,000 seniors found that those on antipsychotics had significantly higher risks of stroke, kidney injury, pneumonia, and cognitive decline. One shocking stat: the risk of sudden death jumped nearly 61% compared to those not using these drugs. The most tragic part? Many families are never told the full risk. The prescription is given for convenience, not always necessity. If you or a loved one has been prescribed an antipsychotic, ask why. Ask for alternatives. Non-drug strategies, like light therapy, structured routines, or addressing pain, can make a powerful difference, because safety shouldn't come at the cost of identity. Finally, we arrive at the most overlooked and most dangerous medication threat to your memory: polypharmacy. This isn't one single drug. It's the hidden danger of taking multiple medications that all have anticholinergic properties. Each one may seem harmless on its own, but together they form a storm that quietly erodes brain function. Imagine this. You take Benadryl for sleep, amitriptyline for pain, and oxybutynin for bladder control. Individually, they might cause minor fogginess. Combined, they can dramatically raise your risk of memory loss and even full-blown dementia, A 2022 study in Age and Aging tracked nearly 280,000 older adults. Those with the highest anticholinergic burden had over twice the risk of developing dementia compared to those with low or no exposure. The worst part, most seniors don't even know they're on anticholinergic drugs because the effect isn't always labeled clearly, and the decline doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, silent, easy to dismiss as just aging. But here's the hopeful truth. Drug-induced dementia is often reversible. Many patients regain clarity, focus, and independence within weeks of adjusting their medications. Start with a review. List every prescription, over-the-counter pill, and supplement you take. Then ask your doctor or pharmacist to calculate your anticholinergic load. Because the biggest risk may not be the drug you fear, it's the combination you never questioned. So, what can you do right now to protect your memory? Start with awareness. Grab a pen and paper or open your notes app. Make a list of every medication you're taking, including over-the-counter drugs, sleep aids, allergy pills, and supplements. Even the ones you don't think of as real medicine. Next, ask your doctor or pharmacist this simple question. Can you help me check my anticholinergic burden? They'll know what that means. There are scoring systems like the ACB, Anticholinergic Cognitive Burden, scale that rate each drug's potential impact on brain function. The higher the score, the greater the risk. If your total burden is high, that doesn't mean you have to stop everything cold, but it does mean you should have an honest conversation about alternatives. Could you switch to a lower risk medication? Could you reduce your dose? Are there lifestyle changes or therapies that could help you cut back safely? And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Bring a family member or friend into the process. Print out this video summary. Share what you've learned, because the sooner you act, the better chance your brain has to recover. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about reclaiming control over your health and your future. Clarity, focus, and peace of mind, they're not gone. They may just be buried beneath the wrong pills. Before we go, I want to leave you with something important, something that could change your life or someone you love. If you're over 60 and taking medication, any medication, it's time for a check-in. List your prescriptions, review your over-the-counter meds, start asking questions. Drop a comment below and tell us, what medications are you currently taking? Have you noticed any changes in your memory, focus, or clarity over the past year? Every comment gets reviewed, and we reply with personalized insights. You are not alone. And please, share this video. Whether it's with your spouse, your parents, or your retirement community email list, this information needs to spread. You might help someone catch the problem early. You might even help reverse it. We're not just talking about memory, we're talking about independence, dignity, and the ability to stay sharp as we age. Because memory loss isn't always a life sentence. Sometimes it's a side effect. And the sooner you catch it, the more likely you are to get your mind back. So go ahead. Take that first step. Ask, review, share, comment. Because one small action today could preserve a lifetime of memories tomorrow. Thank you for watching and for caring enough to protect your brain.